Welcome to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forstetter, and we're glad to see you again. We have a terrific show for you today. Before we get into this week's tip, let's review the goals of EQ Video Tip. Welcome back. We have a very unique show today. We're going to talk about a once-in-a-lifetime chance to start over. And this comes to us from an Arthur Brooks, who is the author of How to Build a Life. And what Arthur talks about in the beginning of this article is a woman who unfortunately was in a car crash. And after that crash, she changed her life, her lifestyle. And her parents would say, oh, well, it's all because she had a head injury or something happened to her. But in reality, when Arthur interviewed this lady, she went through and said it really had nothing to do with this. She found that her life was lacking a certain meaning and she wanted to change things. And this gave her the perfect opportunity to do so. Now, while most of us hopefully have not been in a car crash recently, and if you are, I hope you're doing okay, we have gone through a crazy pandemic that hopefully is winding down or changing the way we live our lives. There are some tips that Arthur has from this young lady's life, as well as some other ones that will help us with this once-in-a-lifetime chance to start over. Let's jump in right now. Tip number one. If pre-pandemic times haven't been exactly what you wanted them to be, and pandemic times aren't even better, start to collect data and think about when we return to normal or somewhat normal times, what you want things to look like. Be honest with yourself and understand where you're happy versus unhappy. If there are relationships that are dragging you down, don't go back to them. Understand and collect data points to say, what did I dislike before the pandemic started and what do I still dislike even during the pandemic? Understand what's really driving your happiness and how you potentially can make it better. But before we even start making it better, we have to grab all those different data points to understand the most germane question, which is, what did I really dislike or what did I like? And be honest with yourself about it, because it's important to understand the life patterns that are making you unhappy so that you won't go back to those things once we come out of the pandemic or once you decide to make that change. Again, it could be something silly like, I don't like being stuck in traffic every day, and I didn't like that now, but now working from home, I'm okay because I don't drive in traffic every day. Again, go deeper with your friends and relationships as well, because this is important to figure out, especially the ones that are negative that are out there. So do some data collection before we get started. Tip number two. Now that we've made that list, we need to understand what do we actually want to leave behind. And it's hard to leave things behind. Maybe you want to return to your hometown, or maybe you want to leave your hometown. It could be a certain relationship that you've decided it's time for this to end because it's just been too much on you in terms of an emotional attachment or emotional weight that bears down on you every day. It's important to take the time to figure out what you want to leave behind. And the pandemic might be a good time to take what we call a furlough from those relationships or time off from those relationships. But you should ask yourself during this time, is this a permanent break? Maybe there's a boss that you don't enjoy and you haven't had to interact with him or her on a day-to-day basis in the office. Are you going to have to go back to that office and work with that person? Or is someone, a friend who belittles you or is negative toward you, is it time to take that break because you don't see them as much? Again, think about and make that list to leave behind. Be very scrutinized with what you're thinking about because we're going to leave some of that behind us. Our last tip, and tip number 3, keep and make a list of things that you want to keep. Now, it sounds very simple, but if you think about it, we've talked a lot about the negative side of things, and we don't want to focus only on negativity. We want to have a rounded focus where it's something more like a 3 to 4 to 1 ratio of positivity to negativity. It's important that we focus not only on the negative aspects in life, but making a list of things that we want to keep to make our days better. For example, if you traveled a lot for work pre-pandemic and you've slowed that down and maybe have done more Zoom meetings as opposed to being in front of a customer, maybe figure out a way to integrate that into your life going forward. Or if you found a hobby of cooking or spirituality or reading, you name it, try to integrate those things and figure out the good things that you've enjoyed during this pandemic time, and understand that this is an important way to keep your happiness going forward and to change you into the you want to be going forward. Remember, keeping that list of things that you want should overwhelm the list of things that you want to get rid of. Again, no one's life is going to be perfect, but we want to aim to figure out what things in our life will best suit us and make us the best person possible. Again, this is something that we can constantly change and evolve over time, but remember, keep a list and make a list of the things that you want to keep. That's a wrap for this week's EQ video tip. Hopefully these tips will help you in changing your life to become more positive going forward. Again, customize them to the best of your ability to make your life what you want it to be. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ Video Tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.